What's going on, guys? Abrasus here, talking to you from the pre-update era. So as I said last week, today we will have my expectations for Dread Elves and Demon Legions. Those armies are much more new to me than the Infernal Dwarves and Vampire Covenants. I will also like to listen to your ideas, what should have been changed, or what deserved the price decrease or increase from those books. I think Dread Elves are in tier 2 somewhere, but the Demons are clearly the top book, and I would much more expect nerfs to this book than buffs. Let's see how how this goes. So again, very grateful to the 9th Age team for all the work they've done. So again, army-wide rules, pretty much nothing, because this is a point update, so we can skip that. And let's go to special equipment. Basically, two things I want to point out first is the Death Keys plus Seal of the Republic. They both seem to be intended to work together to boost heroes on foot. Lords on foot are pretty much non-existent in Dread Elves, so if you want to encourage more Lords on foot, one of the ways would be to decrease both of those items. Terrifying Visage as well, pretty much not used item. And Penance of Disdain, again, I hate all the conditional ward saves, so this is a no-go for me for now. Ring of Shadows seems pretty interesting. This could work in very specific builds, but so far I haven't really found any, and I haven't seen anyone used it. There is that, and the same goes for Beastmaster Lash. I think it was aimed at helping the infantry playstyle and also the monsters playstyle, but you cannot really have both of them at the same time. So the price should be much more according to that. Amulet of Spite seems pretty interesting at first and pretty cheap. But the problem is that with current magic phases, you will most likely get only 4 or 5 dice to dispel, and sometimes you can even get 3, which means that your opponent will be basically free to force the one spell he wants in. And this is pretty terrible, and that's why it is not really taken. Elixir of Shadows seemed pretty interesting. I know when I was testing the Assassins, I started taking it, but then I realized it just makes no sense. And even with double assassin build, I wasn't really keen on taking this, which only shows how effective it is. I think it also is tied to the fact that the close combat assassins are very bad. If close combat assassins become much more popular, then Elixir of Shadows can get popular as well. So as you could have seen with vampires, I propose pretty much the same here. So the on-foot Dread Prince should get a bit cheaper, while the mounts that are pretty much used should get more expensive. So the Raptor Chariot, Pegasus, and the Dragon. The paired weapons and halberd are pretty much never used for the Dread Pins, so they could easily go down in price even to being free, because I would never pick any of them. If I want to pay the points for the Dread Prince, I want him to fight. The Cult of Kadaron. This is really interesting, and I pointed out that many of my characters, I don't know if you remember, but I've played a very shitty Dread Elves list at some point. And even there, I didn't pick Kadaron, and the reason is pretty simple. Not only you have to pay a lot of points for something like Repeater Auxiliaries in core, but also you have to basically buy yourself another general. Because if you buy a Prince with Kadaron, he's much less capable of fighting. If you want to have a Mage General, she cannot be Kadaron. So you basically have to waste some points on the Kadaron Captain. And there is no way to boost shooting of the Kadaron Captain. And probably that's the tax that stops people from playing the Cult of Kadaron. And while I've seen people play Cult of Nab and Cult of Yama as mono armies, I've never seen Kadaron, and I've never seen Olaron as well. But Olaron is just a new cult. It has been recently redesigned, so I can justify at least that. And obviously decrease this in price, as well as the Beastmaster upgrade. For the Captain, pretty much the same goes, but the Kadaron is better on the Captain because you don't waste as much points. But the Olaron, Beastmaster, and Fleet Commander could all go down, especially because you only field either a very cheap Captain on foot to be your BSB, or you field the Captain on the Elven Horse into the Raptors unit, and then you don't need the Fleet Commander as well. All Raptor, Pegasus, and the Manticore are a bit overpriced in my opinion. They don't have very good use. And the same goes for paired weapons and halberds, which don't have that much use either, since you basically need to buy other stuff on top of them to make them usable, and it's not really worth it. I always love to have the Cult Priest on foot in the unit of Dancers of Yama, and I try to fit it so hard in but it never worked out. But I think another price decrease would help, and to offset the price decrease, the Divine Altar should definitely get a price increase, because it's very popular, and while I don't say that it's very overpowered, then it's definitely not underpowered, and the whole model shouldn't go down in price. The Spear and Halberd are similarly bad on Cult Priest as the paired weapons used to be on the Captain and on the Lord. Paired weapons here are not as bad, since Hero Heart can be actually a pretty good way to get more attacks on the Cult Priest. Practically all the mounts except the Dragon are terrible for Oracle, so there is no reason why they shouldn't be down even more. I think even giving Raptor for free wouldn't hurt that much. And maybe some interesting all cavalry builds will rise again. Assassin, as I said, the Path of Bloody Murder is pretty bad. Just because you are stuck with your hero for most of the game, not doing the thing that you intend him. And if you start buying him paired weapons and the poison, then he is getting really expensive. For the poisons itself, I haven't seen Nightshade used ever, but the Wolfsbane is at least as good as Bloodroot, especially because it complements the army pretty well. For the mounts, again, if you want to have a Cult of Khadaron princes and captains, you shouldn't pay for losing +1 armor and gaining light troops. This should be completely free. As I said in previous videos, I very like Coursers, but I think in the units of 10 they are much better. So decreasing the additional models would be definitely the way to go. You could ask yourself if Cult of Khadaron is okay on them, but I think with repeater handbows, this is actually the unit that I would love to have a Cult of Khadaron on. Blades of Nab, I'm not sure if they should get a price decrease. They actually seem to be pretty good, both in small and in big units, but since people don't like them that much, maybe a small price decrease to incentivize them to rediscover them. And with Hatred and Poisons, they seem to be pretty interesting. They die to everything, but if you are not playing against very shitty army, repeater auxiliaries, Cult of Khadaron and Shields are overpriced, so pricing down those two would definitely help. The Dark Riders, additional models, nobody takes them. Repeater crossbows, I don't know, people take them, but for me, if you're having a chaff and you are paying extra 40 points for those, they are not worth it for me. But shields are definitely not worth, not only for me, but for nobody. So at least this one could go down in price. Compared to any other light cavalry, the shields are very pricey here. Ravenclaws are really fine, and both weapon options seem pretty viable. I practically never choose to use any weapon options on them, but that's because I use assassins. If I don't use assassins, then maybe I would pick the great weapons on them. But usually I just don't want to use any more points than needed. Tower Guards, as for every bodyguard unit, they are better in bigger units, so decreasing the starting price, even if it means increasing the additional price, would be a way to go. In general, I think they are pretty bad, so just decreasing the starting price would be pretty nice. The Dread Knights, usually you can see a unit of something like 8 or 9 with the BSB now. So again, decreasing the starting price, potentially increasing the additional price could bring them more balance. Raptor Chariots and Harpies seem to be pretty okay now. I'm personally not a fan of Raptor Chariots, but many people are, so I'm not going to argue over that. The Leadership 9 is definitely very interesting. Dread Judges, they seem to be in a pretty good spot, but the starting price could go down while the additional models go up. And Dancers of Yama, while the unit itself is very good, the Skirmisher option is terrible, and I don't know why this is not free. I haven't seen anyone use the Skirmish option yet. The Medusa, I think it's cheap enough, but something like 5 points maybe could, again, incentivize more people to play it. And the Divine Altar, I see the paired weapons used on Divine Altar because they work in every turn and they increase the chances of poison attacks. But Light Lances could definitely get a bit of decrease, like probably make one of those weapons default. Hunting Chariot, definitely the worst entry in the whole book. I've seen many people try to make it work, but I've never seen them succeed. This is a very poor man's Sky Sloop. And from the monsters, the Hydra is obviously better, so the Kraken maybe could get a bit point decrease. I know I played Kraken for a while, but then he went up in points and the Hydras just pushed him out. I think what is deciding is the Breath Weapon on Hydra, because for the defensive part, Hydra is a bit better, but it's a bit pricier, but again then, the Breath Weapon helps a lot, and it helps hunting units that Dread Elves can struggle against. So that's my summary for the Dread Elves. If you disagree with me at any points, feel free to comment down below. And let's move to Demon Legions. So again, the base rules probably all stay the same. Maybe the big version of the Hereditary spell could go down by 1. I've never seen it being cast. And while I understand the significance of the aura, then on the other hand, 12 plus cast makes it pretty much impossible for non-master mages to get it reliably in. Let's go to demonic items. And the first one that comes to mind is Ether Wand. It definitely should get the increase. It is very good, very strong. But then you have the Eternal Sword and Lash of Last and Ether Wand. Those are the 3 items most commonly picked. I've seen some people pick Torment of Trident, but the 4 remaining weapons are not picked, so I would think that they go down. The Shackles of Reality, I'm not sure if they will increase, but seeing that the main rulebook regeneration item got increased, I would expect that they might increase further. It would be nice though to have Veil of Shadows and Brass Collar be decreased, because those are the items that are pretty much, again, never seen. Hellish Crown, I know that it doesn't contain the extra 200 points given out, but the general in the demons is much less significant than in mortal armies, so the extra +1 discipline is not really worth it. And the Horn of Damnation is a gimmick. If you just remove the BSB from someone, then it doesn't really change that much. It gives a bit more stability, but 65 points. You don't have price for it. Blazing Wings could go down, just to allow the on-foot Harbinger to fly around. But at the same time, you would need to increase the change mark price for the Demon Prince, because this is particularly the reason why the Demon Prince of Change is more expensive than any other mark, because this item exists, and while all the other demons get the fly for 80 points, then the Demon of Change gets the wings for only 30 points. So that's the main reason for the change, for the difference in price. The Portal Gem seems like a poor man's BSB. Sounds good, doesn't work. Mirror of Change, actually very interesting item, but the 18-inch and line of sight part make it very hard to use. If it was a 24-inch, then it could be more interesting, but without the change in rules, it has to go down in price. The Weaver should go up in price. For the CTC, he was definitely the dominant greater demon, but I think the price increase should go both on the Weaver and the Supreme Aspect, because the Supreme Aspect is what makes him really strong, because rerolling 1s and 2s combined with +2 to cast make Thaumaturgy really reliable. I would also love to see him not being over nerfed, because I expect also the nerf to Ether Wand, which is the main part of his build. So if they increase the price on the Weaver highly, and then on the Aspect highly, and then on the Ether Wand highly, then the Weaver will not see any play again, which would be shameful, but this is something that happened already a few times in the 9th age, so I wouldn't be really surprised. Harbinger of Change, on foot only version, pretty much never used, and the Power Vortex, pretty much never used on it. Disc of Change also rarely seen, but if I want to decrease the Harbinger of Change, then you need to increase the Blazing Chariot as an offset to that. The Courtesian, yeah, pretty good. And the Harbinger of Last, again, on foot version is a bit lacking, and the Dance of Death is not that interesting. People, I think, tend to choose Clawed Caress, if anything. Like Barbed Claws are much better than paired weapons, so you could just give out paired weapons for free. And if you want to make the Harbinger of Last on foot cheaper, then the Steed of Last and Siren Chariot, which are both decent mounts, should go up in price accordingly. Father of Pestilence. Okay, so first of all, the Supreme Aspect should go down, I guess, because it's not much cheaper than the Shackles item, and it takes the Aspect slot. I think if Shackles goes up, then the Aspect here might stay, but the relative price should be changed. And then Contamination as an alternative should probably be changed as well. And the main model as obvious, nobody uses it. I'm not even sure if on small points people will use it. So if they won't use it on small points, then I think there is no hope for further. Harbinger, viable model, but only on the Palanquin and Blightfly. So again, the on-foot model should go down. The bloated putrefaction. So the contaminations could definitely go down as well. Scourge is okay, and the Harbinger, the Axe of Retribution, the strength 6 AP2 is definitely worse than the strength 6 AP3 on first turn and lethal strikes every time. So this one could definitely be free. Big units of horrors are non-existent, so additional models could again go down. Sirens, the supreme aspect. I know that when I was building lists with sirens, and when I've seen even mono lists with sirens, then practically nobody took the aspect, which is a good indication that the aspect is pretty overpriced here. Probably the additional models could go down, but I would be really careful with that. For Tallyman, as Tallyman tends to be a tank unit, then the bigger units are better. So again, starting price decreased and additional models increased again. For Slaughterers, I don't know why this is still the case. The Bloodsword is just much better than the Helax, and Helax is actually 2 points per model more expensive. This should be free, if not the Bloodsword should be more expensive here. That interesting to put them in my list. They are just too squishy for my taste, and apparently for everyone else's taste. And the far-seeing aspect for the Igniters, I think if I've seen Igniters in the mono change list, then I don't think that they bought the far-seeing aspect, which is also pretty saying. Mounted Sirens, again, I don't think I would buy the Claude Caris even in the mono list, but that's also my personal preference. I just think they don't need it to fill their role. The Siren Chariot, I think it's universally worse than the Carnal Chariot, so either the Carnal Chariot should go up again or the Siren Chariot should go down, but not so many people choose the Carnal Chariot, so I guess it's better to decrease the Siren Chariot. And for the Carnal Chariot, the extra ammo piecing is not that worth it since you have the AP10 impact hits anyway. Plaguelings, I used them at TTC, they were a good unit, but only units of 2, and the additional models are very pricey on them. The Contamination also seems pretty pricey. The Pestilent Beasts are the poor man's Crushers, but the Crushers actually can have a champion, which was a deciding factor for me when picking them at the ATC. Also, Contamination seems a bit overpriced on them. Blightflies, practically never seen in small units, only in full units of 5 with heroes inside. So it could be interesting to have the base price lowered again and the additional price increased again. It is just motivated by the fact that you can pretty much easily crumble the small unit of flies, but if there are 5 flies, they are not so easy to crumble and shoot down, and just every additional model counts far more than the starting ones. Crusher Cavalry suffer from practically the same problem as the Slaughterers, so the Hell Axe is much worse than the Bloodsword, especially because most of the attacks are done by the Crusher itself. Then paying for the weapon for the riders seems foolish. Hellhounds are a very nice ambushing unit, but you don't want to overinvest in them. Additional models are not really common for them if one picks them. Those maybe deserve a price decrease. Blood Chariot universally taken in any poly list and in the mono RAF list, so probably another price increase. This is a very good model with a very good fighting capabilities and with a very decent shooting, especially now that the region is the source of special save for many heroes. The Blood Chariot really can shine. But on the other hand, the aspect is never taken, so no problem in getting this one cheaper as well. And the Demon Engine, I think one of the most interesting entries in the whole book, because it allows the greater demons to be much safer, and for now he is pretty cheap as he stands. I think it's pretty ridiculous that you can have him without a weapon, so I would rather have a Hellish Reaper in build and an option to change him to any other. But if you don't want to do that, then the increase on the base price would be suggested, and maybe the decrease on the Hellish Reaper as well. Thanks for the Night Mage team for the work they will make and the work I will review with you on Sunday. Let's see how many guesses did I get correctly this time. If you disagree with me on any points I made, let me know. Hope you guys enjoyed it, and see you in the next one. Cheers!